Okay, we're going to get into this bus here on this maintenance. We're going to first start talking about the maintenance intervals and what needs to be done and when. And there's so much that needs to be done, and it just gets skipped over on these coaches. The owners don't do it in the timely fashion or the amount of miles that it should be taken care of, and then we're playing catch up after decades of missed maintenance. I don't see a lubrication chart in this owner's manual. There's a section on the chassis, but it just tells you what the chassis parts are. I think it was section 5. It doesn't give you any maintenance intervals or anything like that. I went through this whole manual, so unless it's in a different book here. So let me show you one on an MCI bus to give you an idea of what the maintenance stuff looks like. I also couldn't find any lubrication chart in here. And even maintenance, I tried to look for. Yeah, I don't see any of that. This is a lubrication chart for a bus. This happens to be an MCI 7. It's a pretty standard bus. But if you look at it here, there's actually 79 points. 79 different. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 20s, 30s, 40s. Yeah, it's 50s, 60s, 79. So we talk about missed maintenance schedules and everything here. This tells you the type of oil and everything and what grease goes where and that kind of stuff. According to the numbers. But just to give you an idea, every 1,500 miles, which would be one trip for most people, what they do in their buses, and they're probably doing this every few years. And then the worst thing is if the bus sits for 5 or 6 years at a time. This is meant to be done periodically. These things are meant to be run, so they don't really give you a or, like a lot of modern vehicles will tell you every 3,000 miles or every 2 years, you have to automatically do it. But I would say all the stuff you should definitely do once a year for sure. But 1,500 miles, okay? You're doing your slack adjusters, your S cams, the steering knuckles, tie rod ends, slip joint, so on the drive shaft, clutch release bearing. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that this is still 1,500 miles on here. All that stuff. That's crazy, right? And then at 3,000 miles, now we're doing the engine oil filter, engine oil. At 10,000 miles, these are some of the body stuff, the doors and stuff like that, but you're still doing the fuel strainer, the blower drive gearbox. People are not doing this every 10,000 miles, I guarantee you. At 15,000 miles, you're doing your transmission. These are still 15,000 mile maintenance points here. And yeah, here they're changing the fluid, the wheel bearings, checking everything out, drain, flush, refill. And then it goes on from there. But there's a whole lot of maintenance that needs to get done. And people will just buy a bus and maybe do this stuff once and don't come back to it again until 10 years later and wonder why they have problems with things wearing out. So 1,500 miles is, I mean, that's pretty aggressive for a lot of this stuff, but it's not going to wear out if you do that. And then again, when they sit for a long time, that's worse than going a lot of miles without doing it. So if you're buying a bus, plan on spending a day under there doing this kind of stuff. Again, almost 80, 79 lubrication points to check and to service on there. Okay, now let's take a look and see what's going on with this kingpin, this big clunkiness going on in the kingpin. See if it's bushing wear or just some shims that need to be added. The bushings are all in really good shape, so we're just going to add a shim to it and get that clunk out of there. No parts needed except for the shim. So we're just able to take shims like this and slide them in there. Once you take the kingpin out to take up the gap on there, and that's going to fix the problems with this one. Broken wheel stud we need to get to there. Somebody didn't put this top head on right either on a few of the lug nuts. some little dry rotting going on in them. It's a little more excessive there. And this is the wheel that's got the broken stud. That's all like metal residue. Oh yeah. So on the bottom. It's like different colors of oil. There's like a silver oil on the outside and then golden oil.
Way out.
Way out of adjustment. So far, all of his bearings just have some wear. You know, they're not falling apart. They don't look, they're not completely shot. We'll just get everything cleaned up real good and readjust the preloads on them and new fluid, and we should be good to go. The important thing is cleaning everything to get all that metal residue out of there. That shock is blown out for sure. I don't know why my camera's not really showing it very well. But that is metal. A lot of metal. Preload's way off. Just worn it down. So this tag axle has quite a bit of metal in it. It's par for the course here. Not sure what all that gook in there is. Get that all cleaned out good. I can just pull this apart. It's double gasketed. That usually doesn't work well. That's probably how the dirt and crap got in here. maybe. I don't know. Two gaskets on top of each other is never a good thing. That stud is a little messed up. Yeah. We had a hard time. It really fought the gun getting that off, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna obviously replace that. It's always the ones on the left-hand side. People don't remember their left-hand thread and they overstretch them. But all the other ones were good. There's the gear oil out of it. Holy cow! It's all like metal sludge. You just got on a magnet on there.
Mm-hmm.
No big chunks though, just little particles.
It's just all sludge.
Wow, that's a lot. The drain plug look like that too? Oh, it doesn't look nearly as bad.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you got that much out of there with that. Maybe that was about all that one could hold. Run that through again. That's a lot of metal. This is round 2 of magnet fishing in there. And that was a totally clean container. He 100% cleaned it before he put any gear oil in it. How long did you have that magnet in there before I came up here?
Not that long. Just essentially doing what I'm doing now.
Got a little bit. Nothing like last time. Okay, so he's cleaned all these hubs all out. Getting ready to put everything back together. Here's the other front one, all cleaned up. So we get all that metal out of there and everything. We clean the bearings real good. It's gonna get a new seal on it. And then this will all go back together. We're gonna have all new airbags, all new shocks. These airbags are 34 years old. I think they're all originals. And the shocks, you know, the rear 2 are definitely blown out. And then here you can see how that one's all blown out too. It's got oil all over it. The oil's leaked out of it. Getting these all cleaned up. They were filthy with gunk. The spindles on the inside. The brakes are in good shape. We're going to clean them up with brake clean, but the linings are nice and thick still. The drums are all in good shape. So just a lot of cleaning and everything, and then we can start reassembling. Our Wanderlodge parts we get from Dan at Coach Parts out of Florida. So he's getting everything lined up as far as airbags and shocks and everything for us. So here's the engine oil getting ready to go in for the oil change. So we've got several cases here of the Dello 100 straight 40 weight, and that is a CF2 rated oil. The CF-2, that's what you need it to be for the 2-stroke diesel. I mean, we see a lot of problems with moisture and stuff because there is a vent on the caps that go on these oil hubs here. So when the oil gets warm, it expands, it doesn't blow it out of the seal. So moisture can get in and out. Same thing, the rear end has a big vent on top of it there. So air is always able to get in there. And that's why you want to change that stuff. Any condensation that builds up in the oil, you can get that flushed out of there. And then also the bearings wear. They need to periodically be adjust the preload on them so that they're the right tolerance there for the preload. And then that's going to help them last a lot longer. But when you just run them and run them and run them, and I'm fairly certain this rear end has never been changed. So granted, this coach only has like, I think it was 33,000 miles or something like that. So not a lot of miles, but it's, you know, 35-year-old fluid in there. The gear oil is 35 years old probably. So it has to get serviced and maintained, even if it's not being driven. But even if not, that's still more than double the mileage that that rear end should have on it, as far as the fluid in there, the oil. So yeah, you have to periodically go in and get in there and get these things cleaned out. That's why we see so many bearing problems, especially when they're oil. The grease ones have a sealed cap on there where they don't. There's no vent going into them. But you still have that, you know, on the rear end, we have the block-off plates, but you still need to change the differential, the gear oil itself in the rear end. So everything needs maintenance. That's the point. Okay, so we're at the end of day 3 on this thing and ready to start assembling once we get all the parts in.